Yo, so I just want to point out this is therapy for us all. Like week in, week out. We look forward to it. Listen,
Fellas,
it's
it's
just
gonna be one of them nights.
it's gonna be. I'm telling you. So listen. Today's episode, right? I kind of want to dig into where it all started, where our fatherhood journey started, right? Um, those were very testing times for me personally when I first, knew I was going to become a father, and I had to overcome a lot of emotional stuff, a lot of things I thought about, just all kind of things I thought about, ways that I thought things would go, um, things that made me happy, didn't make me happy, all kind of stuff, right? So I know we all had our journeys at that point. Um, so let's get into the first question, right? At the point of conception, man, let's talk about when we made the decision to let that thing go and say, "Hey, it's in there now." You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about how that happened and what we were thinking and how we felt about it.
Uh, Anytime. I mean, I have four children, father of four. I've had multiple almost as, you know what I'm saying, and just misses. But whenever I let go, and decided that it was going to be what it is, like, I don't know if it was the immaturity in me or just like the just overthinking or whatever, but I always sought comfort in like I guess it would be like a final plea, or not even a plea, just the what I would have to say to the girl, what I would end up saying to the girl. And once my mind was made up that it was out of my hands and I would have that conversation, it would ultimately end with me saying, well, I mean, ultimately, it's your body, it's your decision. I'm with you either way. And that was just me like giving myself a out and, giving her one, but also letting her know that like I'm not saying get an abortion too, because I don't want to be a dick. You know what I'm saying? But that's yeah, that was it. Like I'm down for whatever you want to do. Like I'm good either way. Like I understand that, it wasn't planned, but we're here now.
I like that. I like that. Actually, that does deserves a round of applause for being supportive. You know what I mean? Who want to pick up the next one?
I guess I got it. It's crazy for me because I just had my first biological, child 9 months ago. So you know what I mean. I'm kind of fresh and new to it, in that regard. So for me, like when it was
Congratulations.
all thanks. So when it was all happening, you know what I mean. In the mix of it, it was like in my head, I had convinced myself like I got perfect kids right now. I'm good. I don't need to have no more. So I'm like, I was cool in my head and I was done. So I really wasn't, thinking on expanding in that way anymore. And then now finding out like, okay, this is happening. This is happening for real. So it's like in my head, I'm like, I need to be supportive. I need to, you know what I mean? I need to be cool, calm, and collected and be there and, emotionally and I probably wasn't. Probably the opposite of that. Because for me, it was like, man, I always told myself I didn't want to be no old dad. You know what I mean? Because I watched a lot of that, the old dad stuff, and they be mad relaxed and they be letting a lot of stuff slide that normally you wouldn't have let slide, and you know what I mean. You lose a little step or two, trying to chase them around. So I was probably a little less supportive than I should have been early on, and I, I got a lot of thoughts and regrets about that. But it, it was a stressful situation initially because I just had to wrap my head around this. Like, we about to start all over. You know what I mean? Like I actually got a 15-year-old. I'm like, I had a couple more years. She out the house, you know. But now I'm starting all over. I'm like, man. So it was definitely like crazy for me. You know what I mean? And I just had to figure that out. You know what I mean? And like I said, really wrap my head around it and try to come around to it. And I mean, if you probably asked her, she'd probably say I was horrible. But you know, it's just one of those things that I just wasn't prepared for. You know.
Situation was kind of crazy too, and I had kids at a young age. So I had four kids before I was like 25. So
Ooh.
it was pretty stressful for me too. But I was pretty. I mean, I stayed supportive to her, and like I stayed with my kid's mom when she had them. So anything, whatever slack she had, I was picking it up, and vice versa. So we was kind of working pretty well together. So it was stressful, but it was manageable.
Decision to be like, you know what? I'm gonna just let this one go out there and see what happens.
I mean, it wasn't like that, but it was more, we did have like we were planning, like what I'm saying, like we were planning for this, like we were married already like 4 years at the time, and I was in my like early 30s. I was like 31 when my daughter was born, so it didn't just happen. It wasn't like I'm gonna just let this one go. But yeah, there was like some preparation that went into it. You know what I mean? But you can't always be 100% prepared for kids, anyways. But like we were by ourselves, like we were living away from family and stuff, so we had to go through that struggle of figuring that out and the lifestyle change and all that stuff that came along with it. But yeah, I mean, we decided we wanted to do it and we did it.
So for my first one, it was this is the last time I'm gonna see you, and this is the last time I'm gonna see you, and I'm gonna let this one go. And I didn't think I could really impregnate anybody, at that young age. I've let the shot go plenty of times before I've actually conceived another person, and it was just like, what's going to be different between any other one? You know what I mean? So for me, I just let it go, thinking, it's not going to happen. You know what I mean? Because I've been here so many times before. So I was really careless about it. You know what I mean? And for me, like I said, it was like the last time I'm gonna see you, that good old last one, and I didn't even speak to her for a while. And then she hits me like a month later, so like, hey, there's something in there, something's brewing. And I'm like,
That happened with my first daughter.
dang.
Because me and her mom were at odds. We hated each other.
Yeah, hey, right, same at it, right? And I was
Mhm.
just like, yo, this is like, when she hit me with that, I was just, I gave her the, so what you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? But I knew what I wanted to happen. You know what I mean? And we actually took those steps, like start doing our research on how to get an abortion and that kind of thing. And we was basically there. And then something talked to me. It was just like, yo, remember I was in that dark space. Like, hey, you're gonna be a good dad. You might need this win to get you over. And I kind of talked her into like, look, I'm gonna be a good dad, and I know you're gonna be a good mom. Just thinking that all women are, nurturing or whatever, genetically or whatever. But I was like, well, I know I'm gonna be a good dad. Let's have this thing. And if it's my boy, then you know what I'm saying. Like the second coming to me, I'm here. I'm gung ho for it. You know what I mean? So yeah. So that was kind of how that happened, right? That journey of, I thought it was just another, it was just another, activity at the moment. Didn't think nothing much of it, and later on, was hit with the I'm pregnant, and now I had to like double think and how I was going to approach that. You know what I mean? So it was definitely like different, emotional, and that's actually going to slide us into the next question, right? So like, how'd you guys feel when you found out the sex of the baby?
Well, I mean, you know what? I was fine. Like in the back of my head, I was like, yo, if I got a son, man, I'm cool. I'm done because I got a daughter. If I get a son, I'm good. I'm good. So in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, it'll be great to have a son. But also, I was thinking, man, either way, it don't matter because I'm like, my daughter. I have a daughter, man. You know how the daughters be around dad most of the time. You know what I mean? So I was like, I'm gonna have my ride or die. She's gonna be daddy's girl. And I was like, so if I have a girl, I'm gonna be cool as heck with that. But I'm like, if I got a little G, oh, like I'm gonna teach him so much stuff. So I was like happy about them both. So I was just like, I was cool with whatever it was. But part of me was like, I kind of want a son so I could have that name passing on. You know what I mean? And not just have another daughter that's gonna get some other nigga's last name. So you know.
So when I was younger, I remember telling, always having that, oh man, I hope I don't have no girl children. I hope I don't have no girl children, like, just worrying and all that type of stuff. But my first child was a girl, is a girl. And I mean, once she was born, healthy, all of that, like I didn't have, any problem with it, man. Like you see how I am with her, man. Like I pretty much, she kind of runs things a little bit, but I put the restrictions there at the same time, man. But
They be
I love
running
my
everything.
daughter.
So mine was different, right? You know how you guys are all like, whatever I have is cool, blah blah blah. Blah. It changed my entire mood. It changed my entire existence on how I communicated with her. Like I was going to every doctor's appointment. We was going to Lamaze, I think it's called, like yoga. Like I was all up. I was up under her, around her. Just, you know what I mean? Like yeah, you got my boy in there. You got my boy in there. And we went to the doctor for that one for that one appointment, and they said it was a girl. Everything changed instantly. You know what I'm saying? I was so scared to have a girl because it was like I don't know what to do for a girl. You know what I mean? Like I know what to do for a boy easily. I can raise that. I was before to that. But for a girl, I just had no clue. Right? Like you hear so many stories, and I done dealt with so many. You don't know how not to make a raise a girl not to be out in the streets. We'll say. You know what I mean? How can I keep this little girl from the streets? I had no clue. You know what I'm saying? And there was nobody, you know, I don't know if everybody that was at a real strong point in my. I guess I was having red pill rage at the time. You know what I mean? I don't know if y'all know what that means, but that's what I was going through at that moment where like no woman was actually good. You know what I mean? I was like, they're all evil. I was devastated, and from that moment on, I think for the rest of the pregnancy, I was like non-existent for real. For the first one, you know what I mean. I got three other stories to go along with how I felt the process, but for that first one, man, it was just like it was tough. You know what I mean. It was a tough one to deal with. But they all the stories to go along with how I felt the process. But for that first one, man, it was just like it was tough. You know what I mean? It was a tough one to deal with. But they all were tough. You know what I mean? And I could just kind of sum up all my processes. Um, I never appreciated the woman I was with during those pregnancy times. It was one of the hardest times in my relationships because the attitudes, they're different people. I'm not liking what I'm not getting at home, but I'm not liking how they're treating me at home. It's completely like I was planning on an exit based off of these pregnancies. Like these pregnant times, I was planning on a purebred, like I'm breaking away from all of this. I'm gonna get a baby a year. I'm thinking in my head like a exit plan. Like after about a year, I'm done. Like, I'm gonna just make sure the baby like is alive for a year and then I'm out of here. You know what I'm saying? There's no way I'm staying in this. If this is what I'm going to, this is what I'm dealing with. So those pregnancies, all four of them, quite rough for me. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't know if anybody want to.
And for me, I was going through the motions. You know what I mean? Because like I said, for me, it was my like first actual time dealing with this monster. You know what I mean? Of idea of bringing a new life into this world. So for me, it was like it took me a while to really wrap my head around what was going on because I had really communicated with myself like I'm good with what we got. Like we don't need nothing new. You know what I mean? I like our family how it is. So as this stuff is happening, it's just like I'm at every appointment. I'm at it, you know what I mean? I'm at all the doctor stuff. I'm doing all the Googling for, parenting and I'm going through all the little classes, but with the COVID stuff going around, most of the classes was online. So I'm doing all the little CPR classes and Heimlich maneuver, the baby Heimlich maneuver class and stuff like that. I'm doing all this stuff on this side, but in my head, I'm like just going crazy. Like I'm not sure how this stuff is gonna work out, how I'm gonna work it out, and how to actually not show what's really going on in my mind to my wife, so she's not afraid. You know what I mean? So she feels comfortable with everything that's transpiring, and you know what I mean. She knows I'm there to support, and like I said, I didn't do a good job of that, but it was just like rough terrain till about maybe 8 8 months. You know what I mean? About 8 months, then I was like, I was coming around to everything after all the doctor's visits and everything, and you know, it was definitely an experience. You know what I mean? It was definitely an experience, and I know.
What would you do to be more supportive or show your true emotions during the process?
Well, for one thing, I wouldn't like because I'm always been an honest dude. Like as far as like say honest. So I say honest, some say reckless. You know what I mean? Like, but I've always been boisterous about how I feel in any moment, and I think a lot of that boisterousness, you know, was not called for in some of those moments. Or maybe it was called for, but maybe it wasn't a good thing to do in those moments, especially dealing with, somebody whose hormones is all over the place and they're, what I mean, producing another life and they have all this stuff going on in their bodies. Like I was saying some stuff that I probably should have just kept to myself or just ate up. You know what I mean? And I think next time around, if there's a next time around, uh, I would keep a lot of that stuff to myself. I would be a lot more supportive and stop asking questions and just do whatever it is that she feels that I need to do, so I could be
So
there for her in
you gonna
those
be a
moments.
yes man? You gonna turn into a straight yes
Not
man?
necessarily a yes man, but you know what I mean, a supportive man. So you know what I mean, and that support is different than just being a yes man because I'll correct moments when stuff is just crazy, but at the same time, you know I don't want we ain't no spring chicken, so you know what I mean. I don't want any issues to arise due to stress or what I mean, anything that I'm putting on her plate. So I want to make sure that I'm communicating my support and not only just communicating but showing it through my actions. And I think that's where a lot of that stuff got messed up in in this the most recent pregnancy. Is just like I'm doing this stuff, but when you can see my my facial expressions and you can see my you can sense my attitude and stuff, like it wasn't necessarily in line with the stuff that I was doing. So it's like you know my smile wasn't matching my handshake. So I was like it wasn't the right move. So I feel like next time around, I know how to govern myself a little better. You know what I mean? And hold my anxieties and my worries to myself in order to be the right supportive person for my wife.
I don't know if that's necessarily to hold that stuff in. I don't think that's the healthy move.
Well, I'm gonna communicate it with my guys all day. You know what I mean? Y'all gonna have to be my outlet. You know what I mean? Through that moment, but she can't be my outlet. You know what I mean? I can't speak honestly about how I'm feeling in my head and all the emotions that are going through my mind at the time with her, because I need her to be physically healthy. And that, with human beings, period, but with women, they're attached to those emotions. Like those emotions have real physical outcomes. So I want to make sure that she's the healthiest as can be. And that rhetoric that I was spewing out was, it just wasn't a good look, man. And so, if there is a next go round, man, I definitely won't. I'll
You
definitely
keep
won't do
saying this
that.
next go around. That's I something trembles inside of me every time you say next go around, next go around. Like I'm like
Because I, as I always say, man, if you're not uh, trying intentionally not to, then you're open to it happening. And it's, we grown at this point, so shoot, anything can happen at any time. So you know what I mean. I'm not a single young kid no more. So we out here, Yosemite Sam in the club up.
All right. My situation, I mean, everyone's situation is unique, obviously. But I have 4 children, like I mentioned before, all to the same woman. And also, it's an interracial relationship. So I have 4 biracial children. So there was a huge learning curve because, I was raised, uh, I mean, pretty much, I mean, as a nigga from the hood, to be honest with you. And I was always different. I never really considered myself a hood nigga, but I ran amongst them, so y'all know how it is, the sentiment towards whites, the especially black men, taking in, white women. There becomes a disconnect. You become a target. You know the rules. You know what you're supposed to do. Even if you do, partake, it's not ever supposed to get, that to that level, and I have had numerous examples of people who have gone before me, and I saw what they went through because of it.
are you saying just off it being interracial?
Yeah, just simply because of that. But this segues into
Okay. Yeah.
into the roles. So when things did get serious, I've always only ever wanted children in my whole life. I knew that from when I was a teenager. And all my cousins started having kids when they was 13, 14. You know what I'm saying? So it never happened for me. All right, puppy, go. It never happened for me. And I didn't have children until I was 27. So after I graduated college, was done playing arena ball. You know what I'm saying? I felt like, my dream phase was winding down, and I needed to, pick a lane, make a decision, and live with it. And it happened to, the situation that I was in. It kind of bled into that. So like, I'm not saying it was like the lack of other options or whatever, but maybe I settled, and that kind of took a toll on how I treated her initially with the first one. The first child, it was more of an informal relationship. We weren't together, like Dex said. He was married for 4 years. That's amazing. I'm applaud that, because you that's the plan, right? To get married, to selectively choose puppy, to selectively choose, to live your life together and then create life together. Dex, you live in a fucking dream, dog. I never met you before, but I can't wait to shake your hand. Come over and ask for some milk or something, dog. I'm coming right over there.
Definitely not perfect, man. Not perfect.
Not
But
supposed to be.
The perfect was never admit to being perfect.
Right. But yeah, I was like in and out the house. It was like more of an informal relationship. She reminds me to this day that she always felt alone. She always remembers herself being alone during the pregnancies. And that's something that I did not have a clear vision on because I thought I was always there. I just caught up in my own shit.
So,
You know what I mean?
are you
I thought I
saying you
was
didn't
doing
go
more
to
than I
the
was.
doctor's appointments? You
Yeah.
didn't hit the doc-
With Mike, with my first son, I was at every appointment.
So everybody said that, right? And I wanted to kind of dig into that. Like everybody said, "Oh, I was at the doctor's appointments," and that's the kind of synopsis, right? But there gotta be more than that to show support. It can't just be showing up at the doctor's appointment because you said you was at every one of them, and she still felt the love.
No, yeah. I was at. That's not what it was about. It was more about picking up the slack around the house. Doing the cleaning up, and just making like catering to her, babying her a little bit. Maybe I probably could have been a little more sensitive in that regard. And I wasn't.
Sensitivity, what's that?
Ralph Tresvant. Which I probably could have been a little, but even still, at 27, I wasn't a mature 27. And there were a lot of things that I would definitely change if I could go back. One would be probably getting married before I started, shooting the club up. Yeah, I would have, you know what I'm saying? That should have been that's the path. That's ideally I hope that's what my son does. And I hope that's what my daughters do too. I think maybe staying around the house more, partying less. And then it's crazy too, because I know she's probably gonna end up watching this because I think she watched the last one. But she wasn't very active during her pregnancy.
Mm.
And that took a toll because
What do you mean active? Like she got
active.
lazy around the house, or
No.
not active with you?
Yes.
Oh yeah, talk about it because I think we all dealt with that, right? We all got our frustrations from that.
And that
They say,
when
ironically, they say men cheat the most during that pregnancy time, but to women, that's like the most devastating. Like if you hear like women talk like he cheated on me while I was pregnant.
I was pregnant, like how? First of all, and that's the thing too, because I've had that, and then like it was crazy because years later she was like, "Did you ever cheat while I was pregnant with?"
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I think maybe staying around the house more, partying less. And then it's crazy too, because I know she's probably going to end up watching this because I think she watched the last one. But she wasn't very active during her pregnancy.
Mm.
And that took a toll because
What do you mean active? Like she got lazy around the house, or
no,
not active with you?
Yes.
Oh yeah, talk about it because I think we all dealt with that, right? We all got our frustrations from that.
And that
they say, ironically, they say men cheat the most during that pregnancy time, but to women, that's like the most devastating. Like if you hear like women talk like he cheated on me while I was pregnant.
I was pregnant, like how? First of all, and that's the thing too, because I've had that, and then like it was crazy because years later she was like, "Did you ever cheat while I was pregnant with?"
Yeah.
No, I didn't. Absolutely not. You're out of your fucking mind. What you think? You know what I'm saying? But that was a very, very, very rough part of life. And I can see how she sees that maybe I wasn't, you know what I mean, up like good enough. Maybe she, you know what I mean? I can understand where she's coming from when she says she felt alone. Because there's looking back now, Like, even though, I slept with her most nights, I kept myself busy. And a lot of that comes from having that pent up energy, feeling like you have to do something. You know what I'm saying? Because it's hard to displace or replace that attention that she's not willing to give you for that 9 months, for damn near a year, because there's months after that. You know what I'm saying? That we're, so
So talk about it, right? So that's how you handle. That's how you handle yours. I mean, that's how I handled mine, right? Like we went somewhere else. I mean,
11 full months.
But how else we supposed to handle that? Is the question. Let's talk about some solutions on how we're supposed to handle that pent up energy. You know what I mean? The right way. What's the right way to handle that?
Discipline.
Defer to Dex.
Discipline.
Look,
Dex got all the answers, right? But no, Dex is a different guy though. Like,
yeah, that's what I'll just say. Like, I mean, that's what every situation for me though. It's like.
So you're saying suffering and discipline is the same thing?
Nah, but
that's what you just said.
I mean, you could call it suffering if you want, but if you call suffering bringing pain to someone else, then okay, I can dig that. But for me, it was like, what
it's
I'm
not
not
necessarily about bringing pain to anybody else.
Well, but that's exactly what you're doing intrinsically. So for me, it's like what I'm not going to do.
But it's not personal. It's not personal.
Everybody says that it's not personal to you, but it's personal to the person you're doing it to. So that's what I'm saying. So for me, it's always about like, let me think about how I would feel if this was being done to me. So, during this time that I contributed to, because it takes two to tango, that I contributed to. Now that, and I mean, there's plenty of studies that say
so
women are. Let me finish a little bit. You know what I mean? That women are more active and more, I guess, sexually explosive during the times of pregnancy than some other times. That I decide that I'm going to do this in her most vulnerable, emotional, state that she can't control, that I contributed to, and I'm going to go and do what I need to do to take care of me. Like, to me, that's the ultimate selfishness, and to me, it's inconceivable to even move in that direction. So, for me, like I said, it's all about discipline. Like, you make the decision on the type of man that you want to be.
You know what they say, though? Put your mask on first before you put on anybody else's mask. How can you be the man you're supposed to be for her if you're not taken care
of? I don't think that's one and the same. Like, you could still put your mask on and put her mask on afterwards so she can breathe. You're not talking about life and death. You're talking about extracurricular.
No, that's extracurricular. I don't think it's extracurricular.
What? Why isn't it? It's not like food and water. It's not like food and water. So you're talking about extracurricular, and I get that.
Is it? I would like to say it is a part of food and water. I think it's what makes men productive, yo. It's the very thing that motivates men. If there was no that, we wouldn't have a lot of stuff in the world, man. We wouldn't be motivated to do any of this stuff.
What I would say is the man that can control that is more productive than the man that can't, because the man that can't is susceptible to a lot of I don't want to curse, but fuckery. You know what I mean? You're easily manipulated because you can't control your own self. You know what I mean? So for me, like I said, it all comes back to discipline, and you being disciplined enough to tell yourself and decide for yourself the type of man that you want to be and what you want to project. So like I said, to me, especially during that time, that's where it's like, it's extremely off limits to my own selfish needs. Like, I know, you know what I mean? Like, absolutely not. But I mean, like I said, everybody's different.
Being a monk for the 10 months. That's what it really is. It's 10 months. You subscribe to being a monk. So she's like, I'm not, don't touch me. You're like, I'm being a monk.
That's crazy though. That's crazy because they only say like what they say 6 weeks after giving birth, you can't.
So
during
that whole 10 months plus another 6 weeks.
Man, during that whole 9-10 months,
it's almost a year. It's almost a year.
During that 9-10 months, you can shoot it up, rub that belly and everything.
What if she's denying you that?
That's not how it was going down.
Yeah, what if that's denied to you?
There was no there was none of that.
So you saying if the water was shut off?
My water got cut off like immediately to like 40, 30, 20, 3 weeks. 4 weeks. There was no more. The water was off.
I wonder why they do that though. I never.
Well, it's probably because they don't feel supported. They don't feel loved in that moment. They don't feel emotionally protected. And from what you both said is you stepped away once you figured that out it was a girl. And what you said is that you was in there, but you were there, but you weren't really present. So the water got shut off because of you. It didn't get shut off because of how they were feeling. You weren't protecting their emotions.
I mean, that was the first. That was the first time for me. The other 3 times I was fully engaged, but it still got. It still wasn't right.
No, Leland, you absolutely. What's crazy is that as I never heard a man say that to me, but I've heard that line verbatim from her, the people, my mom, and anyone else that tried to speak up on her behalf. Dog, that's crazy.
I told you,
not even just in the moment, just about me being denied, like the water being off at any point. Not even just during the pregnancy, the water being off at any point. I've heard what you just said verbatim.
I mean, I literally live that because I am a nut. So I'm generally mostly never there emotionally, but I'm man enough to have that conversation and understand, why things are the way they are. So I know, like, sometimes I can't tap into that emotional side to be able to be there for you in the way that you need me to be there. And that is my punishment. And I can eat that in those moments. But if I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing and it's the water still cut off, oh shoot.
And you know where that control that she has loses value is when men have options. This is no longer relevant because I mean, like if I was, and that comes into going into this, like having that plan, being married before you're doing all that stuff. Because if you're there and you're committed and all that, you're not, you know what I mean? Like, but boom, like I'm in a situationship. You know what I'm saying? And you feel like you're gonna enforce some type of authority and over me that I'm not. You know what I mean? Like, what's keeping me from not exercising these options? Like, not this, because I don't see one of these. I ain't asked you. We didn't go through that. Like, so, you know what I mean? Like, so it took value away, from how important that process was, how important that relationship was, because A, I wasn't married, and B, there were other, like, it's crazy. I posted some shit on Facebook. It said, women like men that other women like. You know what I'm saying? A woman sees you on your shit with a girl, that don't know she's pregnant. You know what I mean? Don't know y'all doing that stuff, and that makes you more attractive to other women. They want to see if they could tap in, or if they got what it takes to turn your attention away from that. And me being, I was getting excited by my lower 3 chakras being, engaged on a simple, just sexual level, stimulated level, and I took from myself and from my family and from the woman that was carrying the only thing that I ever wanted in my life. You know what I mean? But because it made me feel better in the moment. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
I mean, would you say those moments though, like you go out, get your moment, and you come back and you good?
Yeah.
Look, Dex, yeah, go ahead, speak, Dex. I want you to say something, man.
Look, I totally agree with L up there on every level.